Hey, welcome back to the Long Lens Podcast. This is the podcast where I answer questions from my filmmaking community, and we just talk about all things YouTube and filmmaking. Today, we have a pretty special guest, Thomas McClure, and Thomas is a YouTuber and filmmaker out of Kentucky. I stumbled upon Thomas's YouTube channel about 2 years ago. He specializes in talking about budget cameras as well as budget ways to rig them out. So it was a really fun episode. Without any further ado, here's my conversation with Thomas McClure. All right, so Thomas, thanks for joining me on the podcast, man.
It's good to be here. I've been watching it for a little while now, so...
Yeah, well, I had a few questions for you, but first I just kind of wanted to have you give like a little elevator pitch of like who you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, my name's Thomas. I decided to throw the middle name into my YouTube channel, so I've been running a YouTube channel for a couple of years, mainly based on like budget cameras and trying to get like the most that you can out of a cheap camera. I know you've actually done a lot of very similar stuff. Yeah. So I kind of just started it because I've seen a lot of people just go out and buy $4,000 cameras thinking that that's going to make them a good photographer or videographer, or other people who are like depressed over their cheap camera. But I kind of try to encourage people, you can get a lot of good stuff out of cheap cameras. So just been kind of having fun with it more than anything. But I'm full-time, I'm a youth pastor. This is our like church basement that I renovated a little room into. So that's awesome. I just, in my spare time, try to do this as like a bit of a creative outlet because I have all this camera equipment and I wasn't using it. So
that's awesome. Do you do video stuff like for your church as well?
I do. We don't do very much. It's not a big church. So when I lived in Lexington, Kentucky, I worked for a much larger church and we did tons of stuff. I was kind of almost full time there, just doing testimonials and baptism videos and bumpers and all that kind of stuff. So, which was a lot of fun. But this church, we're in the middle of nowhere out in the sticks. So there's not much of a need. We have a podcast that we do, but that's about it. So
I guess, how long have you been in like the video industry? And I know that you live in Kentucky, but based off your accent, I'm guessing you're from someplace else originally.
Well, I'm glad I haven't lost it just yet because I'm worried that I'm going to. But yeah, so I'm from Ireland, originally Northern Ireland, and I got into videography. I was probably about 18 or 19, and my sister, I've got my older sister, she studied film over in Scotland. So she started getting into wedding videography and brought me in as just a second shooter, and I had no idea what I was doing. So she handed me a little GH4 back in the day and sort of ran around with that. And looking back, all the clips that I got were probably unusable, but that kind of just got me into it. And then I impulse ordered a Sony A7 III when it came out. And that kind of, I spent so much money on it that I didn't have that I was like, I need to actually use this, and just gave it a go. So when I moved to America, I wasn't allowed to work for a long time. So just because of immigration stuff is a bit of a nightmare. So I just volunteered at our church like every day, and I had cameras. So I was like, I'll just keep going, and got into that. Then did some real estate, a couple of commercials and stuff. It just sort of, I don't really know how it happened, but it just sort of happened. So but it was fun.
So like your day job as a youth pastor, do you do any like, I guess, professional video work on the side, or is it just mostly on YouTube?
Sometimes I do. I still do some weddings. It's mainly for friends. So there's a university here in the town, and we have a little group of college students that we work with. And a lot of them are, they're at a Christian college, so they're all getting married. A lot of them have no budget. So we just sort of, it's like a bit of a wedding gift, but I kind of hate doing wedding videos. So
I feel that
I've kind of refused to do any more. I think I got one more that I have to do. And then about a year and a half ago, I did a short commercial for a company. I'm looking at doing a bit more here locally. So we're in a small town that doesn't have any videographers in it. So I could do a lot more. It's just balancing the time is the hard part. So most of what I do now is just on YouTube.
Yeah, no, I feel you on the wedding thing. I think I did my last like gifted wedding video for a friend like 3 or 4 years ago, and then after that I was just kind of like, okay, I think I just need to like stop doing these because
it's so much work.
It's so much work, and unless you're like really like in the industry and like like have a wedding business, it's hard to justify doing it for cheap or doing it for like for free a lot of the time. So that's why I kind of had to.
Favors get to a point that you kind of do it grudgingly, which isn't much of a favor anymore. So I kind of find myself getting to that point. So I was like, I need to stop doing this.
You kind of hit on this a little bit, but like, What was it like? What was that like real push that, got you to decide to start a YouTube channel? Because I think I found your channel like 2 years ago now, it seems.
Yeah, you actually commented on my very first video, which was like kind of cool for like, obviously whenever you first get started and you're like, I think there were 2 people, I think it was yourself and maybe Sightseeing Stan, where there's a couple of others that ended up commenting on it. And that was just like a cool, like, oh, this community is smaller than I thought it was. Like,
yeah,
I can actually do this. So I got my wife into photography. I got her a little ZV-E10 because she wanted to learn some stuff. And I ended up enjoying that camera more than she did, and she took my A7 III, and I just ended up messing around with the ZV-E10. So, and I also have always had like an obsession with building cinema rigs, probably unhealthily so, just because taking cameras that don't need to be rigged up and rigging them up. So I basically did it with the ZV-E10, and I thought this could be entertaining. People love content on the ZV-E10, and they love content about cinema rigs. So nobody had really done a rig about the ZV-E10. So I was like, I'll just put those 2 together. And it did pretty well. So I think it got like 1,000 views in the first week or 2, which was kind of a big like motivator, because I was just going to do the one and see what happened. And then I was like, actually, I should probably keep going. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was the first video I saw of yours. It was like a ZV-E10 cinema rig or something like that. And I had like never seen anything from you. I think that was your first video. But like, it was like, I mean, I don't have any Sony cameras, but I love watching rig videos, and I think other people do too.
Yeah. I mean, I love watching them, so I was like, I should just make one,
Yeah, exactly.
And I had all this equipment, like all the lights and stuff, and I was like, I should just use this. Like, there's no reason for me not to do something. And I'm a relatively creative person, so I need to make something. So I was just finding myself getting burnt out, not doing anything. So I just bit the bullet and posted one.
That's awesome. Well, how was like your perspective on YouTube? Like, has it changed at all from like posting that one video, I guess being at it for 2 years now? I know that you've had like, some ups and downs with like sponsorships and stuff like that. Like, how is it kind of like, how has your perspective on the whole YouTube world changed?
I kind of love it. I like, at first I was really embarrassed to like tell anybody that I had a YouTube channel. But like, the more that I've been doing it and the more that I've seen like other creators starting to sort of pop off and do really well, or and the more that I've seen that it can work, I'm kind of a big advocate for just do it, if you have a camera and a niche, you may as well, because it might take off. It might not, but either way, it's like, for a lot of people, it's just good to create something and post it somewhere and kind of stretch that muscle a little bit. And so that was that's like, I'm trying to push as many people as I can to start doing it, whether it's like friends who are gamers and just start streaming or whatever, just because I think it's good for people,
It's always good to have some kind of an outlet, and especially if you can, like, I don't know, like, I always feel like there's potential for almost anyone to turn what they love into a YouTube channel,
Totally.
And that's what, like I try to, encourage my friends to do the same thing. Cause I feel like a lot of people, they have this mindset that it's like, it's almost like, too hard, which, I mean, it is a lot of work, but like, if you like really love to do it, I mean, teaching yourself the technical aspect of making videos isn't actually that hard. It's just the, I guess the grind that you kind of have to just put out a video. And even if it gets, 27 views, you just keep putting them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't remember where this came from. I've heard a lot of people say this, but like a big motivator for me was like, if you put everybody that watched that video in a room, all of a sudden that's a pretty big success when you get 30 people there, like my job is to try and get young people to come together and have fun and play games or do whatever. And if I can get 30 or 40 kids together to, go to Kings Island or like whatever, it's a big success. So getting 30 views on a video, you're like, oh yeah, it's a lot of faces when you put it that way.
I think that the pressure starts to build as you start getting more subscribers. Have you felt that, where it's like, I mean, you're almost at 15K now, I think, right? Yeah. So like, I'm sure that the pressure from like, when you had 5 subscribers is a lot different than it is now,
Yeah. There's nothing worse than when you post a video and like 3 days in, it's got that 10 out of 10 thing beside it. And you're like, dang, what did I do wrong? Like, I put loads of work into that. Or there's other ones you put no work into and it just goes crazy for no reason. Yeah. Like I had one, like I did a challenge a couple of weeks ago to upload every day just for a week, just to see if it was any good. Yeah. And one video I put no work into. I didn't like the video, but I I uploaded it anyway, and it got like 40,000 views in the first week. And I was like, of all of the videos, you know, and then I posted one a couple of days ago, and I was like, this is a good little fun idea. It's about the S9, and nothing, just crickets, you know. So it's the ebbs and flows of that. It can be pretty depressing. And
I'm sure that there's YouTube gurus that could probably tell you like, you know, what you did wrong and what you did right. But like, I've found that like, it's the same thing where it's like, I put so much effort into some of my videos, and then it's the ones that like, I just put up as like filler videos, or like, those are the ones that like take off, and it's really annoying sometimes. Which
I think if you're chasing views, that hurts a lot more. So I've tried to reorientate myself to just like make the content that I would want to watch or want to learn about, or that I want to make realistically. And then if it does good, then great. If it doesn't do good, then that's fine. But because there's obviously like the monetization side of YouTube, like with the amount of views that I'm getting, AdSense really doesn't do much. Whereas like Amazon affiliates does a lot. So you know, there's some videos that I have out there that are just keep accruing stuff, like usually the rig builds, because you're talking about 50 tiny little pieces. Those do well. But thankfully, because it's not my full-time job, I don't need to be too concerned about it. So
yeah, I think that is a nice thing that like, I don't know, I encourage people like, if you can, you know, because everyone wants to do YouTube full time. Like that seems to be like the most popular like career path for a lot of, you know, like a lot of young people. But I definitely feel like it's a very freeing thing when it's like, you can say no to sponsorships. You can say no to you know, free gear because it's not your full-time job, you know?
Absolutely.
And I've kind of been like slowly transitioning into like doing less sponsorships. You might notice on my channel, like you know, it's like very rare that I like, you know, do an actual sponsored video these days. That's because I've been taking on freelance work more. And so I think that's the cool thing about the filmmaking niche on YouTube, is that like for maybe any other niche, like if, you know, you're like a gaming channel or something like that, like if YouTube got deleted, you might be like, you know, fresh out of luck. But if YouTube got deleted for us filmmakers, we can just go right back into, you know, doing freelance work.
Yeah, totally.
And I definitely hear you with the affiliate links. I posted a video in December doing like my top 5 like favorite pieces of gear. And sometimes I forget about the fact that like, if you make a video that's not about views and it's just about pushing the affiliate links, your affiliate sales go up. And I just I'm about to be paid for December, you know, by Amazon here, like this next month. It's like, oh, okay, it's way bigger than the other months because I was actually pushing like my affiliate links.
Plus like the times of year as well, like around Black Friday or Christmas time, all that kind of stuff. It does. It's hard. Like, obviously I'm sure there's lots of people that just kind of abuse that of just like, let's just push like all these products and stuff. But I'm just like, most of the time, like most of the equipment that I talk about, I've bought myself. So it's like, and I'm excited about it, and I wouldn't talk about it if I didn't like it. So it's kind of easy to push it. Because I'm like, well, I love it, so you might too, you know?
Exactly.
So do it that way.
And that's what I always tell people is like, I feel like Amazon affiliate links are like the least sleazy way of making money, because it doesn't like, it doesn't cost the buyer anything extra. It's like
they're going to buy it anyway.
Like, it's just like a finder's fee kind of a thing.
And the other crazy thing about it is like, they don't even need to buy the thing that you were talking about. Like if they click on Amazon through your link and then they buy their groceries from, you know, or like something else, like a shower curtain that they were going to get anyway, you still get a commission, which is kind of ridiculous in a sense. I remember when I first started doing Amazon affiliate links, I like looked at some of the stuff that was being bought, and like someone bought a microwave, but they had gone through, like they had gone through my affiliate link. I was like, that's kind of cool. I was saying this to someone the other day. I think it was Kofi. Someone bought an FX3. I was like, I just saw this big spike, and I was like, I've never talked about the FX3 in my life. Don't even have one. So it's just kind of, you know, but so it's random, but it's kind of nice that, I mean, it's a nice little bump that you get to have as a creator as well, of like, it helps you pay for some stuff. Like my wife and I opened a coffee shop that we wouldn't be able to have if it wasn't for Amazon affiliates. So I get to like provide for my family for that, which is really bizarre to think about, even when you only have like 15K subs, which isn't that much compared to a lot of others. I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that like you can make pretty decent money even when you don't have like a big following. And I guess that's my next question is like,
what are your, I guess, long-term ambitions for your YouTube channel? Because, you know, when you first started it out, maybe it was just kind of like a fun thing that you just wanted to try, but now it's actually like, you know, like I remember when I was, you know, around, you know, 15 or 20K, I was kind of thinking like, okay, this could actually be something if I just put, you know, like my heart and soul into it a little bit more.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, if it keeps growing, great. I'm trying not to fall into the trap of like growth just for the sake of it. Like, that's why like rig builds were the ones that just sort of got me going. Whether it was on the FX30, the A6700, all those kind of smaller cameras. And it would be it's very tempting to just be like, I'll just make loads of those of every camera that I own because they always do well. But I don't want to get locked in really hard. So I'm trying to just do what I want to do. And then if it keeps growing, then great. The nice thing is like my job pays for our living, you know, so I don't want to lock myself in too hard. I have a couple opportunities down the line, sort of personally, like there's the university beside us have offered me a master's so that I could potentially teach there in the youth ministry department, which would be cool. But I couldn't do that while having my job here. So it'd be like in the interim period, if I could get the channel up high enough where it could sustain us through that, then great. But I don't know, like the end of last year, I was targeting 10,000 subs and I was at about 12.
Yeah.
So I haven't really set a goal for this year, realistically. I actually, like you mentioned gaming. I started a gaming channel. Just for fun, again, because I play games a lot. So I was like, I'm going to just try a couple other little YouTube-y techniques to see how does growth actually work in different niches. Like, and then I'm planning on making videos about it down the line of like, you can grow on YouTube without even having a camera because I'm just using OBS and a microphone, you know? But I'm actually enjoying that almost more sometimes, which is frustrating, but you know.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that because I started a third channel and it's just about skateboarding.
Cool.
And I haven't shared it on like my main channel. I haven't shared it on like really any social media platform really. But I'm like filming it all on like this camera from 2009. It's like a little, awesome. You know, pocket camera. But I'm just trying to do it to like prove to myself that like in that niche, no one cares about the video quality and I can just make stuff, you know, just about skateboarding. And like, as long as like the skateboarding is good and I, you know, like my commentary and my editing is okay, like I can kind of grow a channel. So that's what I'm kind of trying right now, just to like, you know, prove to myself that like, I don't need to be worried about cameras so much.
Well, that's truly it. So like, I'm working on a video about basically talking about how I'm a terrible filmmaker because I hate storytelling, which is like, you know, filmmaking 101 is storytelling, but I love talking about gear. So that's where actually, like, again, it seems ridiculous as a almost 30-year-old man talking about playing Minecraft, but I've been playing Minecraft, but I get to build stories through this completely different medium and doing these sort of cinematic time lapses and all this kind of stuff, which has just been a whole different way of trying storytelling and to try and like flex that muscle a little bit, which has just been kind of fun to do. And kind of in the same vein of what you're talking about, of like, it's not about the camera gear. It's more about like what you're capturing and more the nostalgia of it for people back in the skating days. It's cool to see. And also I think there's something just fun about building another channel from the bottom up. I mean, I know this is probably going on your second channel, right? Like,
this is kind of like, my podcast goes on my second channel and that's kind of, like that channel's been fun to like grow because I kind of almost feel like my second channel is like my core audience of, you know, people where it's like, you know, everyone on my main channel is maybe like a passive viewer, but I feel like the people that watch my second channel are actually like, you know, they actually care about what I'm doing. Speaking of Minecraft and filmmaking, I forget his name. Do you watch like that pretty popular filmmaking channel where he used to be a Minecraft guy and now he's like a cinematographer? I forget what his name is. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was the one that got me into Blackmagic actually, because he was talking about the original Pocket. So after I was with Sony for a long time, I ended up getting the Pocket 4K. I think was the first one I got. Okay, I got the 6K, then the 4K. I can't remember which way around I went, but because I was just seeing some of his stuff that he was getting on the Ursa at the time, and I was like, those colors and that look is just something else. So I was like, I need to give this a go. And I think that camera taught me more about filmmaking than anything else because it does nothing for you. You have to do everything yourself. But yeah, there's definitely something to
the gaming world, especially sandbox gaming, where you have to build your own storyline and kind of film your own content in a game, that it just works well. It's been fun.
Yeah, I remember watching one of his videos where he was talking about like the creativity that like kind of like, you know, bridges between Minecraft and his filmmaking brain, you know, and it was very, very interesting because I'd never played Minecraft. And so I didn't even know how you become as famous of a Minecraft streamer as he was, but I was like, wow, that's
like
crazy.
10 million people watching you play Minecraft. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's insane.
but yeah.
Since we kind of have gotten on to the topic of cameras, what like, because you've used a lot of like, I mean, I feel like you've used a lot of different cameras from Sony to you have a Lumix right there on your desk and Blackmagic. Is there any feature that you would really want to see in a, like, I guess, entry to mid-level camera, I guess that would come out this year or like in the future?
Something I was surprised about. So like I have, so I got a couple of the cameras here in front of me because I have a problem with buying cameras. The camera I've been, I think, most disappointed in this year was the ZV-E10 II.
Really?
And I don't know why, because it's basically an FX30, but half the price, which on paper feels really good, but for some reason it's just not clicking with me. There was a few things I was expecting them to like innovate on, if that makes sense. Like, especially for beginners, people who don't really know what they're doing, you would think there would be more safety features. Like everything in this, as a beginner camera, to get the most out of it, like you really need to know what you're doing. Like to film an S-Log3, like no beginners are filming an S-Log3 really, or using 10-bit. I know that's kind of like a hot topic, but I think most beginners aren't using 10-bit. But there's not like, they could have put 32-bit float inside a camera to help people, like, because everybody's clipped their audio, you know, multiple times, especially when you're getting started. So having that safety feature would be kind of nice. It'd probably make people lazy, but but I don't know, little sort of quality of life safety features, especially for beginners, that just sort of, I think a lot of beginners, whenever they first start filming, they make mistakes and they're just like, I suck at this. I'm not doing this again. Whereas if you give them the ability to like recover some stuff, that might motivate them to keep going, you know?
So you're using the FX30 right now, and that's honestly, that's a camera that I've been like really contemplating getting. And I know that a lot of my Lumix fan base would probably hate me saying that, but it's like, I have the S5 2X, but the weird thing is like, I don't use it as much as my GH5. Right, and just because the GH5 is smaller than the S5 2X, and it's like the body sizes aren't smaller, but like the lenses are way smaller on this guy. And so when I'm going out and like filming stuff, I want to take the smaller camera body and like the smaller lens, you know, package. And so like the perfect in between is Super 35, which is the FX30. And I've always just wondered, like, since you have the S9, which is basically like the S5 2X, like, do you see the S9's image as like leaps and bounds past the FX30, or is it just more of like a bokeh difference, I guess?
I don't know. So like I put out a video a while ago basically telling people that full frame is, well, they thought I was saying that full frame is overrated, which I kind of feel like sometimes. But the main point of the video was saying that I don't buy Sony full frame cameras because they're so expensive. And I don't think they offer anywhere near as much as like the other companies. So like the S9 I got for $1,000 basically. I think it was $1,100 after taxes, which for 6K full frame, incredible IBIS with really nice colors, like you can't beat that. Like that's cheaper than an A6700. So it, like I haven't got to shoot with it as much as I've wanted to for video. I've done a lot of photos with it, but the colors are really nice. But also just the use of it. Like I've got lots of little manual lenses for it. And it's just been fun to use more than anything. So I haven't used it on any major projects, but I haven't wanted to. I've wanted to just carry it around and take pictures. That's been really refreshing. It makes me want to use it, which again, when it's not my full-time thing, that's kind of nice to have. But the FX30 is my workhorse. You know, the main thing I like about it is just like there's no overheating. We do a lot of podcasts, so using it for podcasts when you can record for a long time. The XLR handle's really nice, just to be able to plug a mic straight in. Like I've got the SM7B going straight in at the moment. It needs a fat head to boost it, but but it's just so reliable. I think that's why I really like the FX30.
Yeah, like I know that my Lumix fan base would probably like hate me if I decided to like jump ship, but that's honestly like, it seems like the perfect camera for me. And the fact that like, I mean, I've been seeing it on like eBay and MPB for like $1,400 for just like just the body. And then that little Sigma 18 to 50 would be like perfect for me because it's almost the same size as a lot of my Micro Four Thirds zoom. So that's kind of like where my mind is going. I have a different Lumix cinema camera that I'm gonna talk about soon. But have you like experienced any of like that? I don't know. It's like when people come to your channel because, you know, they found you through Sony cameras.
Yeah.
Do you experience the like, oh, like if I jump ship from Sony and go to like Lumix, then all my Sony viewers are going to stop watching my stuff?
Maybe. Like my video about the S9 is my most disliked video that I have on my whole channel.
Really?
Yeah. You know, so it's like what you're experiencing, I just got the opposite. But I also have I just ordered the Fuji XM5.
Oh,
again,
sweet.
Because it's basically what I wanted the ZV-10 II to be. And then I'm also tempted to try a Nikon ZF. So
yeah,
I'm trying, like I've never really been brand loyal, but whenever I started the channel, I just had Sonys. So
yeah,
so that's mainly what I talked about, but I've never really felt the need to like lock into one system other than lenses. That's like the main thing. But
yeah,
now that you can put Sony lenses on Nikons, that's why I'm like, I need to try a Nikon.
Yeah.
So
I know it's so weird, the filmmaking niche, because it's like people are very they're very like, they're very brand loyal, and they're almost like to a fault. Like, it's like you're on my team or you're not on my team. You know what I mean? It's can't like,
there's some spicy people out there that just get really upset for no reason.
Like I've experience with a lot of different fan bases, but there are definitely some brands that are a little bit more, maybe a little more toxic than the others. Like I think like one of the least toxic like fan bases is like Blackmagic. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the Blackmagic fans are just like, hey, use our cameras or don't. We know they're great. Like, you know,
totally.
But
no, Sony's definitely, maybe just because it's really big. That's maybe why it can be so toxic whenever you talk about switching. I don't know why, but I mean, over this last year, I've got a little disenchanted with Sony. Just with, it just feels like they're not innovating. I mean, maybe we're waiting for the next stuff to come out, and they will. But I'm just in love with small, compact, retro style cameras right now, and they don't have that for a reasonable price. So but again, everybody's needs are so different. You know, it's like there's a video I put out about the ZV-10, about why I chose to specialize on that camera for my channel, and somebody commented being like, you should just get an A9 III. I'm like, that's like a $6,000 camera. Like, I'm talking about a $500 camera. They're not even comparable.
I guess, I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of this information on your channel, but like for my viewers, if you're gonna recommend like 3 beginner cameras, like what would be like your top 3 that you would recommend to people?
Depending on the budget, one camera I had a lot of fun with, and this is like ultra low budget, is the A6000, like the first.
Oh yeah.
Like I found one of the silver ones, which looks cool, and that's not important, but it does look cool.
Yeah.
For $200, which, you know, gets you into the ecosystem. And then again, once you get Sony lenses, you have every option available of cameras to upgrade to, which is kind of nice. Also the Blackmagic Pockets, the 4Ks dropped massively in price. And I think
you can get it like you can get it like for like $1,000. Yeah.
And that's new, so the used ones are even cheaper. So like I think if people are wanting to learn how to be like a filmmaker rather than just like a vlogger or something like that, the Blackmagic it just taught me loads, you know, because I had to dial in my white balance, which I'd never done before. No autofocus. It's got all these limitations, but the image is so good that it's kind of worth learning to deal with those limitations. And then, I don't know, I think on the higher end, I mean, maybe the S9, but again, just because it's fun, that's kind of where I'm at. My needs and kind of what I'm looking for are not that of a filmmaker or someone like a professional. It's just like a enthusiast who has a compulsive need to buy new cameras.
I owned the A6000 way back in the day, and that's like the last camera that I'm probably going to do one of my legendary camera videos on. Yeah. I've just been trying to find one for as cheap as I possibly can, because I know that I'm just going to be reselling it after I buy it. But
that's true.
But I've seen videos on the A6000, and it's still there's just one guy that I watch, and he tests his Fuji cameras against the A6000, and it's the A6000's autofocus is still better than most Fuji cameras.
Yeah. Just for the money, I have a friend who wanted to buy a new camera, and he was like, I got $300. What should I get? And I recommended the A6000, but he went back and got an old Rebel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so past the DSLR stage that I'm
yeah, same.
There's so many good options for under $500 these days. I know you've done a lot on the GH3 and GH4, which are incredible little cameras for the money.
I've been recommending the GH3 less unless people are just really hell bent on that camera specifically. But the GH5, the GH4. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people skip the GH3 because they got the GH2 and they hacked it, and a hacked the GH2 was better than a GH3, and so they skipped the GH3 and went to the GH4. But I don't know. It's harder and harder for me to recommend micro four thirds cameras for beginners, just because there are cameras like the ZV-E10 and even the ZV-E10 Mark II. Even though I know you said you didn't like it as much, but if people wanted to get 10-bit, I feel like that's a pretty safe option to get, and you'll be in the Sony ecosystem.
It is incredible image quality for the money, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't have a reason to not be enjoying it, if I'm honest. I really don't know why. So
yeah, no, dude, there's some cameras that are just uninspiring, I guess. Well, hey, I think that's mostly what I wanted to ask you. Do you have any
cool.
big, big goals in 2025 for your YouTube channel?
I don't really know. Everything's been such a whirlwind that I haven't actually taken the time to stop and think what's next. So, I'd love to get up to 20, 25, somewhere in around there. But I actually contacted you so your viewers know about this sponsorship problem that I was dealing with, about a brand being a little bit annoying. And so I really haven't taken on any sponsorships yet. Not to say I don't want to. It's just figuring that out and doing it where I feel ethically good about it. Is a challenge, especially when you're a smaller channel. I feel like they really try to get you for a few pennies, which is fine, and I could do with a few pennies. That always helps, because I could buy something else. But I don't know. It's finding that balance is always a hard one. So but more brand contact, and I'm also trying to do a lot more networking. Chatting with other creators, and because it can be quite lonely when you're just sitting in a basement. It's always good to have other people you get to bounce some ideas off.
Have you ever thought about going to NAB?
Yeah, I got invited last year, but it was really last minute, and I think I was Small Rig wanted me to work the booth.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't have been able to walk around. So I'm tempted to go this year, but I've already got I'm going to Ireland in a couple of weeks, and then I might go to Italy for a weekend for a different random little thing. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the time off to go. It's April, isn't it?
Yeah, I think April 6th to the 9th or something like that.
Okay.
I've never been before, but
okay. Well, last year it just seemed like everybody was networking with each other, and I was like, dang, that looked fun.
Yeah, and that's that's the biggest thing with NAB, and why I decided to go this year is because I don't really care about any of the gear that's coming out. I just kind of want to go and meet the people that I've been talking to on the internet for all these years.
Totally.
So, but yeah. Well, cool, man. I guess where can people go to check out your work? I'll definitely leave it in the description, but if you want to plug any of your other social channels.
The only thing I do is YouTube. I have an Instagram channel, but I basically never use it. So I'm not very good at social media, so YouTube's basically the only thing that I do. Well,
cool, man. Hey, thanks again for hopping on the podcast, and I'll have to have you on again. I love talking about gear.
It's a painful obsession.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thanks.